A Pudding-Filled Cactus is the third episode of the 8th season of 2.5 Men. This is directed by James Widdoes, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode chronologically and share some thoughts. It's a good episode, but I'm so disappointed in Alan's behaviour. And it's quite interesting because with this season, well, we're 3 episodes in. This season and the previous season, we've really seen a lot of growth and maturity, character development with Charlie. And it's almost like as Charlie grows, we see more negative decisions from Alan. And it's not that I don't think it's believable or anything, but obviously I don't want to see this side of Alan, but it's still a solid episode. It starts off with Alan saying goodbye to Melissa at the door, and Charlie insists on Alan leaving. And of course this comes about because in the previous episode, Alan had moved out to stay with Lyndsey, and then he bumped into Melissa and took her back to Charlie's, and I guess he still feels his place. And obviously he hasn't told Melissa about Lyndsey. And then he goes to Lyndsey's. Can I call it Lyndsey and Alan's place? I don't think I can. It was so uncomfortable because Alan has just cheated on Lyndsey and she has no idea. And it's so horrible. And then Lyndsey, unaware of this, of course, wants sex. Alan, having just had a lot of sex, isn't really feeling up to it. We then cut to Charlie and Berta on the deck. It's a really lovely moment. I think their conversations on the deck where they're just relaxing, maybe having a drink, enjoying the view. They're really pleasant moments and I really like them. And then Alan comes over and he's not very happy, of course. And then we cut back to Lyndsey's, and Alan, Lyndsey, Eldridge and Jake are having dinner. And while we're watching this, Melissa turns up at Charlie's. And then I really got uncomfortable again because Charlie phones Alan and says, hey, Melissa's here. And Alan, to try and leave and get out of the situation so that he can go over to Charlie's, he then snaps at Lyndsey. And it was really horrible to watch. And it's not just that I don't like seeing this in Alan, it's that it made me feel really uncomfortable. And I guess that's kind of the point. If I enjoyed it, I think that would be a problem. But it wasn't a pleasant experience. And then Alan goes over to Charlie's and he has to pretend to Melissa that there was a problem at work. That's why he's home late. And then Melissa thinks that she should move in with Alan. I don't understand her logic because they've just met again after being apart. You don't separate and then bump into somebody and immediately go, hey, I should move in with you. That's not the sign of a healthy relationship or a healthy mindset. And then Evelyn comes over, which was great. I think the narrative would have worked without Evelyn to some extent, but I love Evelyn and I think she always seems to appear at the right moment. And Lyndsey then texts Alan to apologise for whatever she did to make Alan snap at her, which I hate it so much. I love the character. I hate what Alan's doing to her. It's not that I don't think it works well in the episode. I do. I think they're addressing a lot of important things and making me feel a lot of very believable emotions, but it's not pleasant to experience. So it's a very well done episode, but it's not nice. It's not nice to experience. We then cut to Alan and Lyndsey after Alan had just broken up with Melissa over text. Maybe he's got away with it. They've just met. He's told her this can't go on. He goes back to Lyndsey. And then it seemed like for a brief moment he was going to confess to what happened. And he starts to tell the story. And then he said that he fantasized about Melissa. That's what he did wrong, apparently. And Lyndsey said it was no big deal. People fantasize about people, which is an admirable, healthy approach. One fantasy thought shouldn't break up a relationship. But we, of course, know that it's not true. Meanwhile, Melissa goes to Charlie's and demands to know where Alan is. And needless to say, she is very, very angry. And the next thing we see is Alan in bed. And he says, do you smell something burning? And I think it was very clear what happened there. But what happens next is just it's obviously horrific in real life if this were real life, but the image is so funny because we go back to Charlie's and Charlie and Evelyn are sitting down enjoying a drink. They're both smiling. They're clearly enjoying each other's company, which is a rare thing, and I think in some ways a further sign of Charlie's growth and maturity that he can actually enjoy spending time with his mother. It's really nice to see. And and then the door behind them, the front door, opens to reveal Alan, Lyndsey, Eldridge, and Jake looking a little burnt. Obviously, in real life, that wouldn't be a funny thing, but within the episode, just the reveal there was brilliant. I like the fact that it was only heavily implied that Melissa had tried to burn down Lyndsey's place, which is totally not acceptable. That's terrible. But I like the way it played out. I think it was very effective, and I think they managed to get a nice amount of comedy out of what is actually quite a pretty terrifying experience. And there we end things. Oddly though, Lyndsey didn't look very annoyed. So at this point, how much does she know about what happened? Maybe nothing. Maybe Melissa lit a match and ran and they haven't figured out the cause of the fire yet. I don't know. But I can't remember exactly what happens next. I remember the overarching narrative, but specifically immediately in the next episode, I can't remember where it picks up from, so I'm looking forward to rewatching that and finding that out. And it's a solid episode, but I hate this side of Alan, and I do like the fact that they haven't dragged it out. He hasn't had this affair with Melissa for episode after episode. I think they wrapped it up in a really good time frame, as in literally within the space of an episode. So I think that worked well as well. And all things considered, a pudding-filled cactus is certainly a good episode of 2.5 Men. It's not comfortable to watch, but in a way that's effective, and I guess I can't fault it. It's a really decent episode.